Welcome back to Green Disruptors, Scaling the Future, the podcast where we sit down with the builders, operators, and innovators shaping the future of sustainability, energy, and climate tech. I'm your host, Kjar, and today's conversation is a really powerful one, especially if you care about how energy, finance, AI, and infrastructure are colliding right now. My guest today is Gabe Kane, the Chief Marketing Officer at Nerd, an energy solutions company that has evolved from residential solar into commercial critical infrastructure and large-scale energy solutions, including data centers, power purchase agreements, and asset ownership. Gabe has a fascinating background that starts in door-to-door sales, moves through digital marketing and SaaS, and ultimately lands at the center of some of the biggest energy challenges that we're facing today. We talk about the shift from residential to commercial, why energy is fundamentally a financial problem, and how AI is accelerating demand faster than supply can keep up, and why energy is becoming the ultimate competitive advantage. If you're in energy, climate tech, infrastructure, or building a business in a rapidly changing market, you're going to love this episode. Gabe, welcome to Green Disruptors.
Yeah, thank you. Really good to be here. Thanks. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, I think you maybe win the prize of guest's coolest background ever.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no offense to any of the other guests, but you got something good going on there.
Well, you got some nice things behind you there as well. So I don't know if I take the prize, but I
I was gonna say
appreciate
maybe mine's the most expensive, but I don't know about looks.
it.
Just kidding. No, so tell us about you. Where are you? What's your background?
Yeah. Well, I live in Canada. I'm from Canada. I spent about 7 years in the US. But I live in Calgary, Alberta, so I'm actually just kind of straight north of you. I lived in
Same
Utah
time
for a
zone.
while. Yeah, just straight up the I-15. You'll
Yeah, just keep going
yeah, just
longer
keep
than you'd
going.
ever want to.
Yeah. And I got involved. I was not a trust fund baby. I had to figure out how to pay for my own university, and so I got snagged into the world of door-to-door knocking way back in the day. And I sucked at first, but I figured it out, and I got very good in that space. And eventually, Megan, I was just trying to figure out a more efficient way to sell. I figured out how to be really effective, and I'm like, how do I become efficient? There was a book that I was reading at the time when I flew out to train a team in San Diego that was just haunting me. This Peter Drucker book, and he used the exact example of a door-to-door salesperson and said they could be really effective, they'll never be efficient. And this was as I was
Mm,
driving out to go train a team, and it haunted me. And this is a long time ago. It sent me down the path of digital marketing, trying to figure out how do I create really effective sales processes that scale, efficiently. So I got into that world, got involved with a bunch of got involved in the tech space, in the custom development space, and a SaaS product back in the day. The SaaS product was just bleeding money, and and luckily I got rescued by a friend in the energy space in oil and gas, and I got pulled into that world, oil and gas, for a little while, for about 3 years, and I was VP of sales and marketing at a mid-size service company there. And they were great, and they were good to me,
yeah.
and it was good. And I learned a lot of stuff, and we were trying to build the first solar farm in Alberta where I lived, and there's some cool things, but it wasn't what I wanted to do long term. So in 2017, I left that industry and I started an agency. And I still own and operate that agency, but I have a team that runs with that, and I don't spend a lot of time in that space anymore. And man, I a lot of my friends from the alarm days, Megan, ended up in solar. Yes. And you're in the heart of that, so I'm sure you can
Yep.
appreciate that. So a lot of my buddies
All
ended up,
paths lead to solar.
right? Yeah. So a lot of them ended up in solar, and I stayed in communication with a lot of those guys, and they needed leads and marketing, and so and we were doing lead gen for a lot of different industries. Decided to do some in solar, and we got pretty good at that, and we were providing leads, exclusive, residential leads to a lot of the major solar companies that you would know. And at one point, I was providing leads for a company, and I was a little different too. I believed I wasn't just selling leads, just so you know. I wasn't just selling leads. I did a pay for performance model where they would pay me on closed ones. And so I was incentivized to get them quality. And there was one team that was just crushing it with our leads, just killing it. But unfortunately, they were working for a company that was not super fiscally responsible. I'll say, and I'm sure you've seen that before too. And so I said, I was speaking to the sales manager at that company. He used to run inside sales for Vivint. And I'm like, look, we either move your
Yeah.
team over to one of my other clients who has a lot of money and they're not doing very well, or we go start our own. And so we ended up starting our own. And, and we learned there were some bumps, we all learn in the entrepreneurial space. We try to tackle the entire life cycle virtually of lead gen, call center. We had built out a whole call center, US based, close. We were using EPCs for the install, and we had some real big challenges on the EPC side on getting those things actually installed. And at one point we decided, hey, what are we actually really good at? What can we actually focus on and control? And we decided that we could generate a lot of leads. I could. And we were really good at getting those leads qualified and sat down for an appointment. And we saw value in that. And so did other companies. So we decided to sell qualified SAT appointments to a number of companies. And our cost for that was around, less than $200, and we could sell those qualified SAT appointments for around $600. So there's margin there. And so we did that. We got introduced to a much larger solar company based out of Arizona called Nerd. And Nerd was interested in expanding the virtual sales processes for their residential side. And so they bought our company called Sunset. And my partner and I, we cashed some chips at that time, which was nice. But for the most part, Megan, it was a paper swap. So I took a position in Nerd.
Yeah.
And my partner and I kept operating that as a subsidiary of Nerd. Nerd did its thing. We did our thing. And then back in December of last year, Nerd asked me to join their executive team and move out of that company into the executive team at Nerd as CMO there. And that has been a whirlwind and really exciting. And the world, as you know, kind of turned upside down for us a little bit with the one big beautiful bill. And we saw the writing on the wall, and we decided to divest of pretty much everything residential. Nerd had purchased a roofing company that as a lead gen opportunity for residential solar, and we divested of really almost everything that I had built at that point. And we decided to go head first into commercial and critical infrastructure, utility scale, and providing some solutions for data centers and some other larger projects. Nerd originally started in commercial, then moved into residential, and decided to get back into our roots. And since that decision, we've had to retool the entire factory. There's been a whole lot going on. We got to redo our brand. We got to redo our everything. So there's been a ton of work. Our entire tech stack behind the scenes, like everything, retooling everything. It's been a lot of work. But it has opened up some opportunities for us that are 100 times greater than we could have done before. Making that change, some massive ones we're working on now that we're very excited about. And we also partnered with a fund to allow us to own all of our own assets and to provide our own power purchase agreement. So we build and fund and own those assets, and we sell the power.
Beautiful. So can you give us a picture about how unique that is within the market?
With that change, just so you know, we decided to Nerd decided to work with some EPCs worldwide, actually worldwide. We've got a few international projects as well, where before everything was vertically integrated. And at the time, please correct me if I'm wrong. Anyone in the blogosphere, podcast sphere, please correct me if I'm wrong. But at the time, we we believe we're the only one fully integrated from lead generation to sales to install to financing was all done under one roof. And I don't know of anyone else who's doing that. Um,
I don't know of anyone who has that sales piece in there. Like that seems extra unique to me.
yeah, interesting.
And the power purchase agreements too. Like, yeah, so you are solving a unique problem, but it's a problem that every single customer has, right?
Yeah, and it's been really interesting too, just discovering that this whole energy transition really is a financial problem more than anything
Mm-hmm.
else. You know, the
Yep.
physical sciences are there, and there's a lot of people who can and are willing to sell it, but there's a financial issue that it's been pretty rocky up until this point. I mean, case in point, just the government deciding, hey, we don't want to fund any more public funds towards this rocks the entire industry, right? Interest rates change slightly because of COVID and it rocks the entire industry. So
Which, yeah, that's just too volatile for a business to be able to reliably operate under. So you have to change the rules internally for yourself.
you're exactly right. That's what we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun. It allows us to bring the offering to some people who might not otherwise be have access to it.
Yeah. It's funny. So when I first put my foot in this new sector, new niche, um, I swear the first at least 30 conversations I had with businesses, I was like, what are you struggling with? And it was like funding, give me funding. Do you have any, like, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like that was a lesson I learned really quickly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's true. And it's not just us. We're getting very involved in power solutions for data centers, which is really exciting and fun because they need a massive amount of power. But even there's a quote from the CEO of NVIDIA, and he's like, it's the bottleneck is not the technology for AI. The bottleneck is the energy availability. And there's more than enough money available to even fund that as well. But just there's a bottleneck in energy availability, and then there's this financing thing. So we're trying to tackle those problems to create some real energy solutions where it matters.
yeah. So I have to backtrack and then we'll move forward. But I loved how you framed the whole intro of your sales and marketing background and how really when you have that as a solid foundation, it's like you can help any business. So like the fact that you're where you are doesn't surprise me now because if you understand how to get customers and get qualified leads, it's like that's that's where a lot of businesses start and end, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately,
So anyway,
yeah,
oh, go ahead.
there's really only three legs that have been, you've got your executive branch that sits on top and they've got the vision and they're looking where to go. But the supporting pillars of every business, you've got sales and marketing, operations, and finance. That is ultimately every business.
Yeah, it's true. And yeah, I don't know. I find that comforting because we tend to overcomplicate things as humans. But if you can always bring it back to balancing those three legs, the stool's not going to fall over. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So, okay. So back to data centers and the current moment and all of that. What's the strategy in going after these people and how are you framing those conversations? Like, how is that going?
Yeah, great question. We're niching down more than we were before. We're looking at who is most likely to appreciate and value our unique skill set and really niching more after those. Um, and I'm a pretty above the board kind of guy, but so, I don't mind sharing some stuff because, you know, can you execute on ideas is what really makes the difference.
I
Um,
agree with you 100%.
so
Yeah.
happy to share. We launched some partnerships with some very, very large Christian organizations. The types of Christian organizations that have the ear and the mailing list of millions of Christian followers in America, including churches, and we realized that, hey, these churches, these Christian organizations, and other faith centers, we're working with some Jewish faith centers and Muslim faith centers as well. They're trying to do good work, and they have tight budgets like anyone else, and they would like to redeploy as much of those funds as possible towards their purpose and their mission, and not just keeping the lights on. And they typically don't qualify for traditional financing because of the structure of their company, of their organization.
Right.
Nor do they want to just fork out a bunch of cash up front, right? And so we found that, hey, we can actually do something good for that group, for that segment of the population with our power purchase agreement or lease. We've got a lease option as well, but we can put a significant amount of money back into their purpose and into their missions by helping those organizations go solar. So on our commercial front, that has been a really successful, interesting partnership there.
That's definitely a unique angle. I've not heard of anybody else doing that, but that makes a lot of sense because you're going after something more important that they care about. They are very purpose and mission driven. So if you can serve that, then there's no argument about what the process is.
Yeah. So that's been nice. I mean, as a marketer, right? Like, we start with an objective. We've got results that we measure against our objective. And in between, we've got these 4 macro levers we can pull on, the offer, the audience, the messaging, and the media, and we deliver that. And by far, the most impactful of those 4 levers is an offer. If we can make an offer that people can't refuse, it just makes every other piece of that campaign a million times easier, right? And if your offer is mediocre or sucks, I mean, you've got to do a lot of things right with those other levers. But if you got a killer offer that just makes sense and it's a no-brainer, you can make a lot of other mistakes.
Agreed. My marketing background is I started out just solely as a meta ads expert.
Yeah, awesome.
And that was the first thing I learned is does not matter how good your copy and creative are if your offer sucks.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And then figuring out
that's a painful lesson to learn.
Oh, for sure. And we all, as an agency owner, we get approached by people all the time who like, hey, can you help us grow? Like, maybe, we we can try to do a lot of things right. But the analogy I often use, I'm like, hey, you got to think of marketing kind of like a guitar amplifier for those of us who are musicians.
Oh, I love it. Yep.
Right. I mean, if you're a terrible guitarist and you plug into a loud amplifier, it's just going to make you sound louder and worse.
It's true.
But if you're really good, if you got a really skilled, awesome offer and a sales process, then we can magnify that, make it sound better and have broader reach. But I can't.
No, it's just gonna make any bottlenecks bigger.
That's right.
So if you haven't cleaned it up, then you're exactly right. It's people are going to be plugging their ears instead of buying tickets to your show. So
exactly. So if you got a killer offer, my next advice to anyone is just like, hey, who desperately wants that offer that you have? Are there audiences that you're missing for your offer? And maybe you're missing offers for your audience as well. But are you missing audiences for your offer? And who desperately wants that? Like, who can you solve a unique problem for? And that's what really kind of led us a year and a half ago. We brought that forward. Like, who really, really needs power, and who's consuming it at a rate that's unprecedented? Who's willing to pay even above market value, and who's got like enough, deep enough pockets to actually invest in some sustainability or some renewable options or need redundancy. And that just brought us back into the hyperscalers and the data centers. And I'd be lying if I said that we're solving all of their problems with just solar. That's not the case. But we, with some creative financing options, with some creative redeployment of existing stranded energy and understanding and solving problems, we're able to get involved in providing power solutions for those hyperscalers, which has been really exciting. You'd mentioned earlier, Megan, you want to talk about AI, and I spend all day, every day in AI. But there's AI at the micro level, what it's doing within our business, And there's AI at the macro level, what it's doing to the cost of energy across America and the demand on that and what it's doing to everyone's rates. That is worth discussing as well, and what that means for people and for energy providers. There's not enough supply. There's not enough energy
Yeah.
supply for the demand.
Yeah. And it's ironic because, like, yeah, you're that's your customer is the fact that there's not enough demand, but it is such a powerful tool that can make businesses so much more effective. But if we're not thinking about it holistically, like it's a huge problem.
Yeah, it's a huge problem. I've been even Ramaswamy just 2 or 3 days ago. He was just mentioning how energy rates in Ohio, where he lives, is 50% higher, this year than it was last year. And I'm seeing similar complaints in Georgia and elsewhere. And I looked at the national cost per kilowatt hour, and it is, it's on a rapid incline. And it's just your classic supply and demand. And
Yeah.
as the demand goes up for devices, right? Every Christmas, there's a notch in the demand. As kids plug in their new devices, electric cars, and data centers are just thirsty, um, and it's going to have an impact.
So, how does that make you think about using AI within your business?
Well, look, I mean, I'm okay with it. I, I use it. I, I'm, how do I put this? I use it a lot. I use it a lot. I have Claude code running
Hmm.
constantly. I've
Yep.
got a Claude agent. I've got OpenAI going. I've got Grok going for different things. I've got Gemini going, and I'm trying to use them all for their strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
So I am deep into that world and can't imagine a world without it. But there are going to be some downstream impacts to that we're trying to get ahead of and solve. But anyone else on here, anyone listening to this who happens to be, providing energy solutions, and allowing people to lock in a rate or prevent, to avoid some of that inflation, it is coming, and you can feel
Yeah.
absolutely
You can,
justified
yeah.
in positioning it that way.
Hmm. Yeah. I think it makes a whole lot of sense to be investing in the infrastructure and the solutions now, really 5 years ago to prepare for this. But yeah, it's already happening.
Well, and we're keeping our ears to the ground and having conversations with people who are getting involved. Our fund, the Nerd Fund, has opened up interesting conversations that has led into other things, and can we apply that in different ways? And so we're having conversations with people who are tackling the energy problem from different angles, right? These micro nuclear plants and some really, really neat advancements on the hydrogen production side. So hydrogen's amazing, except for producing it is really
Yeah.
expensive and
Yep.
and awful. And so there's some really neat advancements on the production of hydrogen that we're keeping our thumb on. And so we've evolved. We've evolved from a solar company to an energy solutions company.
Hmm. I think that makes sense. I think any solution is never one thing or one size fits all. And so if you can come in and assess the needs of a specific location or what their power needs are and just be able to plug in what you need to, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's neat. And they're unique, right? Geographically unique, demands are unique, and um, having some flexibility on how you actually tackle a problem, um, it makes it unique. Sometimes, a single, right? So the old adage, right? He who's good with a hammer sees every problem as a nail, and sometimes they can get so dogmatic about like, oh no, this is a hammer problem. This is a hammer problem. Can sometimes miss the broader picture of creating some unique solutions. So, yeah,
Yeah, I guess that's a conversation for the COO.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
But anyway, I guess let's kind of wrap it up. If you have any final thoughts, now's your time.
Man, final thoughts. I want the audience here is primarily, I take it, in energy or solar on the commercial side. Do I have that right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, energy and solar, but also like other climate tech type companies as well.
Cool.
So anybody that has a sustainability solution, but it does tend to, I don't know, I end up talking to a lot of solar because it's extremely relevant right now. There's a
Sure.
lot of them. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I guess final parting words. My brain is constantly on this, like finding that balance between effective and efficient,
Hmm.
which is why I love AI so much. It helps me create effective solutions so efficiently. Um, and for those anyone involved in sustainability, and I know they already know this, but profitability is a characteristic of sustainability, right?
Yep. Hmm.
You have to find profitable solutions for your solution to be sustainable. Otherwise, it's going the way of the dodo, like anything else. And if you're not using AI, others are going to put you out. They're going to put you out of business. I don't know if you. There's a book I read years and years ago, just the John D. Rockefeller book, and this is worth bringing up. It was a great book. One of
I listened to three-quarters of the audiobook. I need to go back and finish it, but amazing. Yeah.
amazing book, right? I read it when I was in the oil space, and so it was relevant to me at the time, just kind of how
Yeah.
that went. There's a pivotal moment in that book that I think is worth sharing as we discuss like trying to find effective and efficient solutions, especially with AI. So John was like his fundamental skill. You and I, our fundamental skill is marketing. His fundamental skill was bookkeeping, and he was meticulous about keeping books and finding efficiencies and cost savings. That was his magic. And he got so efficient in his refinery business. So this is before he went on and took over basically the upstream and the midstream and the downstream side of
Right.
the industry. He was just in the refinery space at first. He went to all of his competitors and he just brought his ledger and he just opened his ledger and he's like, I just want you to look at this,
I love that so much.
you know? And
Yeah.
they'd look at it and be like, and they got the message real fast, right? The message was, we can't compete with this. You know, he is so much more efficient than we are, and so he was more he went and acquired all of his competitors by having them just join up by showing them his ledger.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. He's like,
what are you going to do?
this is proof that you're going to go under unless you join forces with me.
If you join us, you can take part in this gravy and we can build something fantastic together. But he was the master at finding efficiency in AI. We're on this precipice of like new efficiencies that were not possible not long ago. And if you were taking part of that, you can be the one bringing the ledger. If you're not, someone else is going to bring their ledger and take over your space by showing how much more efficient and effective they are. Um, so, yeah, the world is changing. Are you in front of that wave? Or are you behind that wave?
Yeah. I mean, perfect case study example. I won't say who this was, but I did an AI systems audit for a really big company this last week. And we found through our research that implementing a few critical AI systems to their business would add to their enterprise value by at least $25 million dollars up to $150 million just by the compounding effect of efficient systems.
Yeah, amazing.
So it's pretty wild.
It
So
is,
yeah,
and it's a different world.
like
It's a different world. Um,
yeah.
that's pretty neat.
So I mean it's exciting. So I'm glad there's companies like Nerd that are helping the data centers get the power they need so we can really operate really sustainable, efficient businesses that are purpose driven and exciting to run. I'm happy I don't have to sit there and manually do a bunch of crap I used to. So
No kidding.
I love it, but yeah,
Yeah.
it
Well,
is what it
cool.
is. Okay. Well, thanks
Yeah,
so much for joining me. This was a fun conversation, and
my pleasure.
it's cool to have the shared lens of sales and marketing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I appreciate the invite. Thanks for your time, Megan, and
Yeah.
good luck to you. Stay in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
All right. Take care.
Gabe, thanks so much for joining me. This was such a thoughtful and wide-ranging conversation, from sales and marketing foundations to energy financing to the very real pressure AI is putting on our power infrastructure. One of my biggest takeaways from this conversation is that sustainability without profitability simply doesn't scale, and that efficiency isn't just an operational advantage anymore. It's existential. Whether it's AI inside your business or energy solutions outside of it, the companies that learn to operate smarter and faster are the ones that will lead the next decade. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to Green Disruptors Scaling the Future and share it with somebody who's building in energy, climate tech, or infrastructure. You can find more episodes, resources, and updates in the show notes. Thanks for listening. And remember, this podcast is brought to you by Mountaintop Social Marketing, your growth partner in sustainability.